Kate's come all the way from Adelaide to join us today. Sam's from Brisbane, but thank you both for joining us today. I think the biggest thing with what the collaboration that you guys had, and with us included, is the governance and how Lite N, TSA and livepro all worked together to create the outcome that we did. I just think the best place to start is probably the beginning. So Kate, can you take us back to what Lite N's KM solution was before and how it kind of worked?
Sure. We had many different contact centres doing many different things. COVID came, we consolidated very rapidly, and we had SharePoint, Smartsheet, printed documents, local knowledge, and nobody knew where everything was. Nobody believed in anything. There was my secret piece of paper that this is my Bible, and I'll print it, but I won't share it with you, but I'll share it with these people. So it was really hard. There was a real lack of belief, and there was no consistency for maintenance. It was really difficult, particularly in Confluence, which was the business solution initially of this is where everything will live, and then updating and maintaining it, the searching functionality. It's great for what it's actually designed for, but it wasn't a great solution for the contact centre. So it was pretty bad. So needed a help.
Yeah, and that's when Sam got involved from TSA. So how did you and Kate first connect, and what kind of steps did you take to kind of kick that off?
Yeah, so Lite N had already decided to go ahead with livepro as your KMS, and we had previously done a rebuild for another livepro client, took their knowledge management system that had already been established and was in a bit of strife, so we rebuilt it and around what they needed, and through that referral to Lite N of the work that we did with the other client, Lite N made the decision to engage us to essentially help guide that transition in of the knowledge, so reviewing all of the existing knowledge and preparing it for transition in, but it was also about, I guess, wanting to speed up that transfer process. They didn't want to take, a year or so for, internal resources to try and do their existing jobs as well as try and, fit in a knowledge build. So, we got involved where we helped, partner and understand exactly what Lite N needed. So it was a mixture of knowledge governance guidance to manage that project, as well as the manpower to get the knowledge in the system within a timely manner, which we think we did in just under 5 months, 4.5, 5 months to go live.
I think too the interesting part is the collaboration that you did was kind of all new for all of us, because normally because we're involved as well, it would be we would do the training first, which we couldn't take that approach this time. We had to do the design work with TSA and the TSA writers first to get that kind of down pat. Then it was the content build. Then we came in and trained Lite N at the very end. The reason we did that was because we didn't want to train them at the very start, because they would have forgotten everything by the time this system got implemented. So we did that, and then we could actually, through training, work off the content that TSA had built to kind of help, this is how you edit this in this template. And I think that kind of made a really big difference to that piece. But that was even interesting for us to kind of have to flip the script with how we were doing things as well. Kate, even though the team wasn't physically involved in the content creation, I know that you guys worked really hard to kind of do other activities alongside TSA. What were they, and how did they kind of work, and what did you do?
Because we were pulling things out of drawers and thinking, okay, is this valid, is this accurate, there was a lot to consolidate. So we gave TSA access to our systems and said, here's all of our content, and they went and they found their own context, which was really useful. So they came back with fresh eyes and they said, oh, this and this is kind of the same, or is it up to date? And they helped us just basically organise things. We had to fill in quite a lot of gaps with stakeholders and map processes, because we're like many companies, or we were like many companies that didn't have documented SOPs, and that was a lot. That was post-it notes across every single wall in every single building, trying to do rockets. We have a very complicated complaints handling process for different divisions and departments with our food, which was a behemoth, and having that support and guidance from TSA was a absolute godsend because we didn't know how we were going to get there. And then feedback loops. So once they had their understanding of, okay, is this right? Is it what we're looking for? And there was just little tweaks. And then we had a co-authoring system in place. So once they had sort of built the content and said, this is what we think it is, we were like, great, just, you know, this and this little bit of an adjustment, but it was so efficient because they were empowered to, like, we just trusted them, and it was like one team really working well together rather than us going, well, this is our secret sauce, you know, you can't, you know, it was quite dynamic in its implementation because there was that, you know, trust.
I think too, from an implementation standpoint, having that trust and having your team work alongside, I think that really helped your engagement level, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there was really good relationships, and I was the you know, the sponsor, but it wasn't as though it was like everything has to come through me. People were empowered. So there was the leader from TSA. Her people were, you know, helping and connecting with you know, knowledge writers and that type of thing. So everybody played their part because we've all got our other jobs, which is why we had to get somebody to help us, and it was really efficient because of that.
Yeah. I want to Sam talk content creation.
Yeah.
So it can be as simple as a copy and paste, and everyone that knows me in this room knows I will tell you never to copy and paste. But TSA takes a more strategic approach, right? Can you walk us through what that is and how it kind of looked and how you kind of future-proofed Light and Easy as well?
Yeah, sure. So we're at about 15 unique knowledge management system builds now that we've done. And what we found working through that process is that you know, knowledge is not created equal. So, you know, the process mapping, all of those sorts of things, it's about the end user, but also about the customer and the business outcomes. So one of the things that I find really interesting is that when you're looking at writing a piece of knowledge, there's not always a lot of consideration as to who it's for and what the outcome is. So that being, is this a sales channel that we're trying to help boost cross-selling or conversion? How are we designing this to help that sales agent be able to understand that process or see the referral opportunities, those sorts of things, as opposed to a service channel, which we may need to streamline because we want to help reduce average handle time, or we may want to, you know, call out really high risk or compliance areas, and, you know, QA is a factor in those sorts of spaces. So one of the things that we definitely see when we're getting into an existing knowledge base and looking to help do a redesign and rebuild is a lot of the time it's built with assumed knowledge. So it's built by SMEs. And when they're designing, they're looking at it as in, this is the standard process that I would follow, but they're not looking at it with those eyes of, but that doesn't make sense to somebody who's never seen that before, or even the language that is being used. There's a lot of jargon that can be used within the you know, the knowledge articles that really makes it difficult for your new trainees to use and leverage that knowledge really easily, and for you to embed it into your onboarding, which I would recommend you do leverage your knowledge throughout your whole induction programs and onboarding to speed it up, because at the end of the day, you don't want to train all of the knowledge into people's heads when you have a KMS that you can source it from. So we take an approach where we look at the end user, we look at the business outcomes essentially, and figure out exactly who needs to use it. The user experience is really important as well, because throughout the process, you know, we worked with Kate and her team to understand the front line as well, and the formats that would be easy for them to digest, and what their jobs are and how they will use it, as opposed to just taking an existing template within livepro and just whacking that information in there. That consultation with the frontline team helps build buy-in as well and trust in it. So yeah, that's part of the approach as well.
I think another part of the approach that worked really well from what I saw is Grace and the team, how they did the design work. So we definitely worked with them to do that. But I think, I don't know, Kate, whether you can attest to this, but I think giving you examples of what the content could look like in certain templates probably, I think, helped the digestion from a user standpoint as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We were living in an environment originally that was just death by text. So much information, so much variability, but not everybody needs that. And like an employee who has tenure knows where to go, knows what to do. So Grace, the team really helped us consolidate things with accordions or things like in the back end and like hiding the pictures if they don't need to see the pictures. So creating it, not one size fits all. We have lots of campaigns that run at different times of the year, and having that consolidated into a really nice, neat and tidy, so they only need to click on what they need to click on. Speed is so much faster, and it's so much easier to just ingest, okay, what am I looking for, rather than just writing everything out, because not everybody needs that, and it's actually not the best way to deliver information to your team.
Yeah. I think another piece too, when I'm getting to the design element, is the fact that it's about the user and the business outcomes, but we also need to be able to make it easy for the Light and Easy team to author. Otherwise it's pointless, right? We can't get it out there in the time that we need to. So I think that's another piece that Grace and the team considered when they designed the content as well. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. Kate can probably talk more to that.
So helpful, so patient. We didn't know what we were doing. Like, honestly, it was a dump and just confluence. It's there, cross your fingers. Whereas livepro allowed us to, really structure it in a easy to digest. We've got standard templates of what do I need to know, what do I need to action. These are the next steps. Where do you go if you're in trouble, type of thing. It's so easy. And then the author guides that were provided after the fact, as we slowly moved towards training more authors, were so invaluable, and they still are to this day, because even when I go in and I was part of the implementation, it tickles the back of my brain and I can kind of remember, but having those author guides there means that, okay, cool, yes, that's right, and it's really easy to pick back up again. There's just that consistency, and once again, it's the competency. It makes the stuff so much easier if it's consistent across what you're providing them.
Yeah, I want to talk with the journey. Obviously, you guys are both coming from it from different perspectives, right? What would be, Kate, your top 3 tips from an operational lens if you were going to go into a project like this?
Yeah, there's a lot of change happening across lots of different businesses. Get your team involved at the start, and it's an exciting thing, because change is just change for change's sake. There's AI, there's different. We're doing a whole CRM, ERP, and it always hits our contact centre last, always with the last amount of time to deliver that information. So drip feeding them and letting them know this is coming, this is a good thing, this is going to help you. We had change champions really early. We started speaking about it, this is on the horizon, this is going to help. As soon as we could, we got our change champions in, playing with it at our different locations, so that they actually told the story for us. And they could see, actually, this is amazing, because it's so easy to update. We don't have this type of thing which has been outdated. What do I need to look for? The search function was really easy. So the change champions told the story, and we encouraged feedback. So spoke about the feedback. We want to hear what you're thinking. We did a naming competition, so getting the team excited. This is what it looks like. Once we also delivered it, it was a cutover. So there was at no time when we had livepro or Loki, what we named our instance, and anything else. It was like, this is your training, this is how you use it. And it was really easy training, because it's very simple for a user to navigate. And that was the end. There was a cut and we were done, which I think was, a great way of doing it. And it was like, oh, we don't need this. And whilst it was new and uncertain, it was actually there was immediate belief, because we'd built that story with our change champions.
I think that's the key, and that sometimes where clients can go wrong is not cutting off the old system straight away.
Yeah.
Because then people still go back there, they're still looking there, even though it's not getting updated, they're still going back there. Just out of, not everyone likes change, not everyone's down for it. It takes some people a little bit longer to get on board, but I think cutting it off, and not as scary as it can seem for a business, I think cutting it off is the best way to kind of push that along.
It was still there, because naturally they're going to go there, and we were just like, hey, what are you doing here? Go to Loki. And and then we could see that, and it wasn't from hitting them with a stick, but it was more so like, okay, here are some of our detractors, here are the people who are a bit resistant or a bit fearful. So that's when we engaged the people that they knew best, their change champions on site, to be like, hey, what are you looking for? Are you okay? I think also with some of the functions in livepro, to be able to see what are they searching for that they can't find, really being on top of that, really being on top of the feedback loop, and getting an understanding as they search, okay, this should be in livepro, this is a really great thing, but now you're searching for something that doesn't actually live within a KMS as well, so providing that information. But I think because it was so immediately robust and rich with content, they were hopeful that it would provide other stuff that that lives on the website, that goes on this. So teaching people how to do it, and that's only then progressed into other business areas as they have started to get their fingers into it as well.
Yeah. Your turn, Sam. Top 3.
I think the first one is, without doubt, understanding the need. So Light and Easy's need, understanding who their people are and their business outcomes, what they're looking to do. So being really clear on defining those success measures in the beginning. What does great look like for you? And then we align what we're looking to do, the strategy to that. The second component when we're working together is the governance. So who owns what, when. Kate mentioned before the tight feedback loops and establishing that throughout the project is crucial. We all had a part to play, and knowing who had what at what time was really crucial. So for us, we had a really good system. We've devised that system, as I mentioned, over 15 or so knowledge builds now, and in this case, it worked extremely well. Probably because of the third component, which is the communication. Kate mentioned trust a couple of times before, and that's probably the key word for me. There was a lot of trust because of the collaboration and the really open and clear communication that needed. So yeah, for us, it was a dream project. It worked really, really well because of how trusting and open Light and Easy were to say, we need your support and guidance. But that doesn't mean that we're coming in to impose, a specific way of doing things. It's very much a consultative
Yep.
process. Where we understand what they need and then we tweak as we go. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the third one is a big one, is the communication piece. It wasn't just communication with...
No, with you guys too.
So we were across the whole time where this project was at. I was getting updates because from a timeline perspective, that impacted when we could lock in training and things like that. So I think even though we weren't involved in the content creation and stuff, I felt like I was across everything that was going on, and we were involved in meetings and decisions and all of those things. And I think that did really drive the outcome that you got.
I think it's one of the first things that we've done within moving us forward and implementing a best fit actual product for our knowledge of our people. And as I was saying, other business areas are now interested because it is so easy to navigate and it is so easy to maintain and trust because, this is accurate. And you don't get a wave of search things that haven't been updated in years. I think with the authoring with you and the training that we did, it was fun. Rather than it being, this is painful, we have to get this out. This is really stressful because we want to make sure we get it right. I think trusting the experts, and you provided guidance, but there was no sort of strong arming or anything like that because you appreciate, we are the actual experts in the content, but you made it so that it was so simple to, get done.
Let's talk results. Sam, do you want to talk us through?
Sure, I can't see the screen.
Yeah,
I'll move forward. Oh, yeah, it's the fire that's in the way.
Fire's in the way.
Basically through the approach that we took, one of the things that we generally find is that there is gaps in the knowledge. So Kate mentioned before, they had knowledge in people's heads, they had it on post-it notes, they had people that had created their own stuff and, they only shared with certain people. So when we work together, that part takes time, that business process, management and documentation and the mapping. So we created 237 new articles that we considered to be brand new pieces of knowledge. The other side of that is the removal of duplication. So there was about 24% of content that was no longer relevant. We stripped that out, making it leaner, easier to navigate. I guess moving into the consolidation piece is 139 duplicate pages, basically. So between those two, what we really were aiming to do was to reduce that noise and that waste that people had to work through. The main aim of that is that speed to knowledge as well. How do we optimise the way that we've designed the knowledge with the meta tagging, that kind of thing. So when the team are searching, they're getting what they need at the outset. So they're not landing on multiple versions of the same thing. So a lot of the focus does go into making it as lean and simple as possible. And that goes into the standardized templates. Obviously, there's a lot of standard templates that come within livepro. For those of you that have worked with other KMSs, you will know that generally there's fixed templates. You can't edit them, or if you want to, they will charge you a lot of money to add or change templates. One of the things that we really love is that you can just change it to what you need it to be, but standardization is really important. You want your people to be seeing a very similar format and template when they're looking at different knowledge, because as they're reading through it, they're going, I know this, I understand this, I know what's next. Doesn't matter if the actual content changes. So we focus on customizing templates in collaboration with Light and Easy to what they need, what their people needed. And yeah, so that was a big focus. So
Okay.
some really good results.
Yeah, I think the other piece too is the way you recognise the duplication was through scoping. So sometimes people don't do that piece of work. They just get in
Really
there
good
and
point.
start to kind of transfer content. You do really need to spend the time at the start. Would you agree that to actually scope the work and work out what knowledge actually needs to go in versus what we have just purely based on someone's asked for it and we've chucked it in?
Yeah, the actual build time is not significantly long. It's the front end. It's the scoping and understanding where the gaps are. That's the hard work. And that's where I think sometimes it can go a little bit wrong, because we do take subject matter experts from the business that know content, but they don't necessarily have that skill in the scoping and the process mapping and those sorts of things. So, yeah.
Yeah. Kate, from the Light and Easy perspective, some results.
It's a whole new world. We have saved 2 days of onboarding, which is huge for us. We now actually use our Loki in training, so it's no longer printouts, PowerPoints. They're on the system from day one, having a play, getting familiar with it, sourcing the answers that they need. So we've utilised those 2 days for factory tours, getting down in the ground and actually seeing how the food is picked and how it's prepared, to build that belief in the trust of the quality of the product that we're selling. So that's a huge thing for us, because not all of our sites are connected to a factory. So that's a whole day that they need to sometimes travel down and see that. Upskilling, compliance, so all of that 2 days saved is a lot. Is a lot for us, and it's a better experience for them to actually, because when you're training somebody and it's like you can't get on the system yet, you can't get on the system yet, you can't, but now they can get in the system, which is a great thing. We've optimised our floor support, so because we had so many different things, and it was Brooke had knowledge that Sam didn't have. We had nesting pods and we had floor walking at every site. And we don't have that anymore, which is once again a huge benefit to us, because we have it for nesting and we have it based on the number of new starters, because we're doing big inductions at the moment, but that time back is amazing. And they're taking calls. They take calls a day earlier than what they otherwise would have prior to Loki, because they can search in real time, it's up to date, and it's maintained because of the governance. It's not, okay, I don't trust this. Is this where I'm meant to be going? Or is this document where I'm meant to be going? Or is this printout? So it's a real belief and trust in the knowledge that we have now, because it is so easy to maintain, and you can set those things to go, you need to review this, because if you change your product, which we changed sort of midway through the year, we could see very clearly, very quickly, this needs to be updated, this needs to be updated, this needs to be updated, and it's continually using that feedback that staff give us and engaging with them, so that they like the fact that they can make suggestions, we answer them in a timely fashion, we take that on board, because they're the people who are using our, it's easy for me to go, this is what you need, but once they're actually taking the calls, listening to your people and going, no, actually this is what we need, and it's better in this way, not be so rigid to be like, well, working together, it's good.
I think that is key, and I know, Sam, you've touched on it before, and Kate, you just did, but I think that is one thing that makes a difference if you are onboarding in your KMS. If you're onboarding in livepro, it will make the trust, because they've been in training, they know that it works, they've seen it work. They're not going to go out and necessarily go ask their coach or their team leader because they saw it work in training, they've been using it since training. I think that does make a very big difference. Mm-hmm. Training from the tool.
Yeah, because you're teaching somebody to find their own answers within the induction. Your transition to the production floor is so much easier because you're not reliant on trying to remember a million things. You just need to know how to find those answers. So yeah.
And it changes like in our environment, we have delivery drivers or delivery partners that are delivering to different regions. They might be a collision, or we might have a product that is, we're having to do a deviation or a substitution. And that information needs to be like, we don't want customers telling us that something's gone awry. We want to be at the forefront of that so that when they call in, we know if there's a problem with the website. So the fact that we can update that, we can create an announcement that says urgent, and we can get an acknowledgement and then go back and see, okay, Kate's looked at this, she's up to date, what's her, does she need help, is she not knowing where to go? It's fantastic.
I think the one thing everybody loves at these forums, and I think maybe they thought it wasn't going to happen because we were just chatting, is everyone loves an inside view. Everyone wants to see what everyone else is doing in their environments. So Kate, do you want to walk us through a couple of these pages and why they're working for the team?
Sure. So this is our landing page, or our home page, and it's big, bold, it's low-key, they know what it is. We recommend feedback from the outset, so this little GIF that sends through, keep us, give us your feedback. We want feedback, we encourage it still. We have our clocks, because we've got different people in different states. Not everybody knows different, cut-off times depending on where they're located. And then we've got our hubs that lead us into the back end of specific areas of value for our people. So we've got different meals depending on if they're government funded or sort of NDIS approved, what the pack name is, what the code is. There's lots of coding because we're a business that a lot of people order online, but we also have a contact centre. Which is quite different from other meal food prep places. Then also we have prices, what you're paying if you are government funded. There's a lot of information depending on the type of call that a consultant gets that they need easy access to, and having that standard, easy to read, easy to digest and search is really great.
Yeah. I wanted to showcase the templates because we've talked a lot about the templates, and I think one thing that you can probably attest to, especially with your announcements, you've got so many different announcements templates, and explain a little bit about why and then how easy it is to get those announcements out because of these templates.
Absolutely. We have production announcements which are related to food, or if there's something, this is a new meal that's coming available, this is on run out, it's coming off. The marketing ones that have so much content in them, they might have videos embedded in them, or like the actual EDM itself. So it's easy for them to just see what they need with the accordion or with the expansion thing that they can link into. And then if there's a P1 or if there's something that goes awry. So we have colours associated with our different states with a back-end system that we use. So they can easily go, okay, magenta is South Australia, I just need to go to that section. So they're different, but they're also very consistent in how they're built. So whilst you're looking at a delivery announcement, the magenta still means magenta for South Australia for that and for whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think that came down to like all the design work, right, that Grace and the team helped along the way. This next one, I actually, when we were going through trying to work out what we were going to look at, I got really excited about this. It wasn't actually on the schedule to show, but can you talk to this? Because I think this must make a real difference for your users and authors.
The guides that were provided by TSI, as I mentioned it before, they are so great because we have a knowledge coordinator who updates everything day on day, but she's not there every day because she takes leave and because she gets sick and because she needs to lean into real time if the real time person isn't there. So having these available to us with our backup and the backup of the backup, which inevitably does happen in real world, they're amazing. So you can go really quickly, very easily to go, okay, what's the best practice? What's the standardised template? When you see things and somebody just goes in and updates it and it's capitalised and it's like, no, it's like, it should be like because it's nicer and it's it's consistent. So rockets were really a big thing for us. We have it's a juggernaut of a thing that we need to get right, and remembering how to do it and update things really quickly when things change. These are my Bible. These are when I need to go and update something really early in the morning. I'm like, I can't remember how to do that. So
Yeah,
And you don't
I think
have to.
after our second build, we implemented this structure because, you know, you recognise there are different authors, but also like what are these things, and you know, that reminder of, you know, how to and using livepro to store the knowledge on how to use livepro makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other piece is too, sometimes the why to use them and when to use them. Sometimes people use the wrong information type. So I think this kind of helps. Like you said, Kate, because you're not in it all the time, just kind of give you that reminder, oh no, I'm not supposed to use that accordion in that. I'm supposed to use this type of accordion in a work instruction.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of does help kind of clear it up and make your content consistent. One thing I did notice when I was going through trying to find things to show is your content looks great and it's very consistent.
Yep. And I think having it consistent now that other business areas have gotten into it without any training, they've just slowly like, you know, oh, SSO, let's get in, oh, what's happening in this? They can ingest it and they can navigate really easily as well. And there's consistency, like, you know, the R&D department, the dietitians are like, oh, this is something that we can help with, or this is something that we can, and they're giving us feedback. And then marketing have like, you know, frothing at the fact that, oh, you know, the consultants have access to this. You know, we can provide, you know, help as well.
Yeah, I think like another piece of that comes down to like, and this kind of slide is more just about your governance. Like you've got really clear standards on don't use this internal jargon, you need to be using everyday language. Like you've gone down to that sort of level from a governance structure, and that is why your content looks consistent. There's no reason for anyone authoring not to know what the rules are. And I love this. It's not guidelines, they're rules. Like these are the rules when you're authoring in here. And I think that's kind of key.
Yeah, I think because we have done such, we've got a new contact centre in the CBD, and we have done massive amounts of induction, and they don't know what you know, the internet process is. They don't know what the download involves. So removing those internal jargons with you know, our internal, and they don't actually need to know. They shouldn't need to know, because whatever you put in the page is just as likely to go straight to a customer. So, you know, and it doesn't make sense. So if you just break it down and really simplify it and make it consistent, it's just so much better for, you know, the user and the customer.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was quick.
Thank you, Brad.
Let me do it.
How'd you come up with the name Loki?
We did a naming competition with our staff. So we went out. We wanted something short, sharp, shiny. So it's an acronym. It's you know, light and easy online knowledge. And then there was an I at the end of it because they really liked the idea of the Marvel superhero Loki. We had Lois as well as a possible thing. And then there were some really longer ones, and we were like, oh no, we want it to. So it was the biggest voted by about 200 people. So we went with it.
And it's mischief.
Hey?
And it's mischief.
Yes, mischief managed.
Hey guys, it was nice to see the point around the onboarding improvement and empowering new staff. I think that goes a long way to reducing attrition and that, so there'd be a great benefit for the business. I guess my question isn't actually related to that. I just want to say well done. It was more around, you talked around that duplication and the identification of that, and I was just sort of prompted me, is there any sort of governance framework you've implemented around that continuous improvement, continue to identify those processes that are duplicated or need, that uplifting and stuff like that?
Certainly. So when you have the articles published, there's a time frame that you can set for review, which we utilise, pretty strong. And we've got a knowledge coordinator who goes in, and part of her role is going in and making sure that things are up to date. We changed our program fairly recently and made it an optional for adding fruit to some of the menu, and that was a huge thing. And rather than recreating, we just searched and went in and found, okay, what is here, what needs to be updated and changed. So it's a continual thing. It's not like with anything, it's not a set and forget, but the fact that it has been built and set up so consistently, it is so much easier to maintain. And as we continue to change our offering, it's good because we can go, okay, we know where this is, and because there isn't that duplication now as well, there's less to think, okay, where is it? Because there is only this page that speaks to this, and whilst it branches off to this page, there isn't like, oh, hang on, here. Yeah, it just doesn't exist.
You may have also noticed on the homepage that was showing up before, the banners that were changing, it was encouraging people for their feedback. One of the number one signs of a healthy knowledge system is that you're getting a decent amount of feedback and engagement from your people. So there's a lot of that promotion that goes on around, wanting people to feedback, and then keeping all of the feedback within the system. So every knowledge article has its own unique feedback button option. So if the frontline agent sees that something's out of date or it contradicts the website, that kind of thing, that goes into literally, they're trained to, add that feedback, and comes back to Kate's team to govern, that response. And then also within the reporting and insights, something that we do to manage that is we look at what people are searching. When they're coming up with no search returns, we look at that and go, what's missing? And proactively reach out to the operational teams to sort of say, hey, these are the top no returns for this week, this month, whatever it is. Why would your people be asking these questions? What's missing? And it's that collaboration and work between the knowledge writers and the operational teams to close those gaps.
I've got a question. So look, for those people who are currently managing livepro, you're actually going to be asked by other departments, can we start using livepro? So you're going to have the same role that TSA did for Light and Easy. What's the top 3 things that you needed to get from Light and Easy before you could start?
100% we need to understand what success looks like. What are you trying to achieve? And alignment on that. And then probably an understanding of the knowledge experts and the SME support, and working within a trusted group to be able to achieve what you're looking to achieve. But first and foremost, what does success look like? There's no point starting until you know, and defining that really clearly. That's one thing that I've noticed happens is we go, we want it to be easier to use for the team. Okay, how are we going to measure that? At these forums over the last couple of years, something that I've spoken to Brooke about is that I hear lots of people measure success by how many views they get on certain knowledge articles, those sorts of things. But I think for me, it's like, where's the ROI? Where does it tie back to? What does that actually mean? So measuring things like how many clicks or scrolls did you reduce the agent from that original knowledge piece, what it looked like in its original format, to the redesign. So did you increase the speed to knowledge? If it's a sales channel, like I said before, you can tie your ROI of your knowledge back to sales conversions if you design it right. We've designed rockets for sales teams where they've had, for example, a hotel group, and they were looking at how they could upsell, cross-sell, different features, rooms, those sorts of things. And we saw a 30% uplift in sales conversions, like cross-sell conversions, after designing a rocket for them that allowed their agent to follow the bouncing ball and go, okay, well, this person's staying in this location. These are the key activities I can cross-sell them to, that kind of thing. And it helps the conversation flow a little bit more easily. And it doesn't sound as strained probably, or as uncomfortable. So I don't think it needs to be just a repository for knowledge. I think you can tailor it to your business, but look for those ROIs, I think is really important as well, because you'll get more budget and funding.
The other thing that I really liked, isn't obvious on the boss, I get to jump up whenever I feel like it. Assumed knowledge. You can't have assumed knowledge if you're a company that actually doesn't know anything about the system. So for me, it was a sort of perfection, because you actually have to get the client to really explain what they mean. And so you're writing it for the novice because you're the novice. I know Brooke's always talking about, you forget the assumed knowledge, talk about in a universal language. Well, now we've got somebody that they've got no assumed knowledge. So as I said, where it's relevant is that all you guys at some point are going to be looked at to roll it out to a new department, and to remember those key things about what's the outcome you want to achieve. And I'm writing for a person that knows nothing. So make it simple for them to know. And then remember the ones that are going to be using it for the next 10 years. They don't want to be scrolling through 30 different screenshots. Make it easier for them. Sorry. Brooke, back over to you. Yes.
I want to thank... Does anyone else have any other questions? Oh, yep. Oh,
Thanks for the presentation. I'm very interested in onboarding and new staff at the moment, and I saw some good results about that. But quite often when new staff move from training environment into production, no matter how well we try to prepare them, it can be massively chaotic. But there's a high percentage of people who just leave at the beginning. You talked about reducing the amount of time that you have to train people, and you talked about how new staff were more confident when they came out, but did it help attrition as well? Did it, I mean, it's not the sole factor, but did you keep more of those new people when they came in because of them having access to livepro?
Yes, and I think livepro would be one of the factors, but I think also we've built a brand new facility in Lonsdale Street in Melbourne. And so we have been inducting a lot, and I think getting your induction right for the people that you're getting on the ground to begin with has been key, and we've changed the way in which we recruit. So now we only do assessment centres rather than just a face-to-face interview. So that's been something that's been really pivotal for us in order to get the right candidate and to spend the time and interview within a group, do some activities. So that's something that we have tweaked. But then also with Loki. Getting them on the system early. I think there's a lot of, if you're just drowning them in business content without them actually sitting there getting to play, because they want to go in and they want to get a feel for it. They sit and listen to calls and buddy, but actually getting them to be able to use the system, navigate through. We have, we don't lock people into contracts, so it's a relationship built on trust. So really trying to champion that message of our customers are our bread and butter. You want to do the right thing. You've got you're empowered. This is how you solve for the customer with going through rockets or finding the information, and it's up to date and it's live. They get that belief really quickly, rather than just speaking to them and telling them how wonderful it is, but you can't go and play in the system yet. So once they've got that in the classroom or they go out into nesting and they're live. They're just happier. They're just much more confident because they don't get out on the floor and then say, I know that you were trained like this, but this is actually how we do it. That conversation doesn't exist anymore because everybody's using it. I think the fact of that initial cutover, there aren't printed sheets anymore. There is just Loki.
Got one more question over here.
Thank you. Touching on sort of what you just mentioned, how did you bring those existing staff who had all those post-it notes, who had their precious little Bible that they would not give up, how did you bring them across? Because that's something I find is a real issue across a lot of our staff, not just our call centres.
She paid them. No.
We strategically targeted some of those with our change champions. So the people that we had a gut feeling, or they had really long tenure and they had their Bible and they had this is laminated, this is the holy grail of information. We encouraged them from the get-go to be our early adopters and to be our people. We wanted to know what they didn't think it was going to deliver, because then we sold for that at the start, and turning those people around from the get-go was instrumental, because it was like, well, God.
Yeah, you got them involved even in the design, getting their feedback on the design, or,
what's not
part of
working,
that testing and approving and that kind of thing.
What's not working, what don't you like, how do you think this could be better, and actually listening to them and not just pandering to, just for the sake of it, to actually making them have a voice, because those are the strongest voices that can kill any type of change. So getting them involved early to say, what do you think? Do you think this is going to work? And then they would go out and they would sell it for us, because we're going through change at any point. Harnessing those people and getting them on board first has been really good, and it's not a hard sell. Once they actually saw it, absolutely. Before it was just the whisper on the wind and they hadn't seen it, but the minute they were in there, it was like, okay, I've got nothing to complain about. And it was little things, if it was anything.
I want to thank you both for coming along and flying all the way from Adelaide, Kate, and having this chat with us. Obviously, you can talk to Kate or Sam at any point today. Well, we're going to move on now. Can we give them both a round of applause, please?